I'm more interested in the changes, actually, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, even the game changers said that the issue is that they showed off the wrong things at the start. Like, instead of like in the reveal stream, they go like, "Oh, we'll have this gameplay. Progression will work like this. There'll be 12 different classes in the game at the start, like, you know, the subclasses."
I didn't actually get what they meant by it. Does that mean each class has a variant on it? I didn't quite understand.
Like, you have the assault class, right? You can he has 3 archetypes. The first one is a primarily anti-vehicle class with a lot of gadgets and weapons suited to fight vehicles, but he has less anti-infantry capabilities. Then there's the anti-infantry assault archetype, which is the best guns, the most suited guns for, you know, anti-infantry purposes and gadgets. Like, probably it'll have like mortars or something. I think, because
I hope not.
like, it'll be a class designed for killing infantry, and then a third class that gets gadgets and weapons that are like the BF1 assault, that has both anti-vehicle and anti-infantry gadgets and weapons that aren't like you know, it's like a balance of the two.
That's actually really cool, because at one point in the menu I saw the scout class having somehow access to a silent SMG.
Yeah. That's the exotic archetype. The scout has 3 archetypes, according to what I've heard from Stody. Rifleman, which has his own like special unlockable abilities and perks for using infantry, infantry bolt actions, like, you know, like unscoped guns.
Like BF1.
Yes, and there'll be a sniper archetype, which gets scoped rifles and abilities designed to support a sniper style of gameplay and gadgets. And the special exotic paratrooper class for scout, which gets a suppressed SMG and pistol, throwing knives, and a garrote. If I recall correctly, the garrote wire, it works like Kavera's interrogation in Siege, where if you like melee take down someone with it, it like highlights the nearby enemies on the minimap.
Oh,
if you complete the
like Hardline then. That's very interesting. That's actually extremely cool.
Interrogation. Yeah, and like it actually means that, and every class has different stats. So like the long range sniper will probably have will be more like the suppression. He'll be more susceptible to suppression, while the rifleman scout will be more resistant to suppression, meaning that suppression, will be able to counter it by basically like shooting the guy in the face more easily than a guy with a scoped sniper rifle. And a support with a big ass MG will probably be like super resistant to suppression, but he'll be less agile, meaning he'll run slower and won't be able to like do all the acrobatic movements as easily as someone like the scout paratrooper, which is like, you know, one of the most agile classes. Probably the most agile class will be the anti-infantry assault player. And he'll be able to do like Max Payne movement and shit, like just jump around and shoot people in bullet time, which I actually fucking like, because it's just fucking cool, man. But
that sounds fantastic, actually.
Yeah, it's like, it's not realistic.
Good.
But it's tactical. It's kind of like a hardcore. It's like Siege. It's not supposed to be realistic, but it's supposed to be like difficult and require skill, and like more it's like Battlefield enemy territory in 2018. It's fucking Wolfenstein Battlefield, man.
Yes, because on hindsight, even though these changes, I really like these changes, especially the teamwork element. What I'm afraid of is basically what usually happened in Battlefield 2. The game was more reliant on teammates, but that means if your teammates are not competent, you're not going to have a good time.
If you don't have a good squad, it's better to have completely random people than a bad squad. And I played with people from this YouTubers Discord who are like from anything from 12 to 16-year-olds, like, who were just not very. And I don't like the game because I've played it with people who were like not very good, and so I kind of fucking hated just going at it because I always would lose every single round. I didn't like it. But
I don't think Battlefield 5 or V whatever will be that extreme though, because we're still talking about a game that can go
64 players. And you can respawn. Siege would work better if you could respawn, because even if you die, you can just respawn and Also, there'll be health and ammo stations at certain locations in the game. So if your teammates are shit, you can just find the medic pouch or something.
That's actually something I've wanted for a long time, but now it's actually even more useful. That was actually in Wolfenstein and Territory and also Battlefield 1942.
Yeah, like these lockers with
Yeah.
to refill your ammo and health.
Since we're mentioning guns, I have to talk about this. If there is no spread, which, to be honest, I don't think is the case, but that's actually not what the developers said. They said that recoil is not randomized, because currently, you know, horizontal recoil goes from left to right randomly. Spin this way, pretty much. If not back compatible, Battlefield 3 for sure.
I heard from like Das or someone from Ascend did a video about it. About there will be no RBD or spread, but they corrected themselves and said that you won't get spread when suppressed. Like suppression won't affect your bullet spread apparently, but I'm not sure if that's the case.
Oh, thank God!
Yeah,
because it doesn't make sense that there's no spread. Because how would you determine what that hip fire is worse than aim accuracy, for example? It doesn't make sense.
Being able to snipe people with SMG at 200 meters doesn't sound like fun.
Yeah, but if that were the case, what would happen is, for example, I was looking at Battlefront 1's gunplay. There's a gun where it goes from 5 damage to 9 damage in the space of like less than 10 meters, and there's no way in hell you can distinguish between those distances. No way. And this is not close range, mind you, because you could make the argument that you kind of could at close range, but like 30 meters you can't do that, and it's actually less skillful because there is no spread. Spread is almost as a necessary evil. It has to be there to balance the game, but it's not the most intuitive thing ever. But ironically, people call that extremely casual, even though it's harder to learn.
Yep.
That just confuses me.
Because DICE didn't explain the gun mechanics in BF1, so people just came in and they tried to play it like BF4, but
DICE never explain anything.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem. They should make like a series of videos, like promoting the game, where they go through every weapon class and just explain to you how to properly use them. Like, oh, these are SMGs. You're supposed to like hip fire them, or like use 5-round bursts. Like
I remember my friend Panther went to 6.5. He's new to the Battlefield series. He played a bit of back compatible, absolutely hated it. A bit of BF4 and he didn't like it all that much, and he lost BF1. But on the start he was very bad at the game, and then I was talking with him because I know him in real life, and he told me, wait, LMGs are not supposed to be hip fired? And there's your problem. But
oh my!
When you think about it, it's obvious for me or for your average Battlefield player, but for someone new.
From like 2017, the middle of it, you can see people like Jack Frags who are unable to hit targets at medium range with a Rigotti because they just shoot it too fast.
Yeah, I noticed that. In fact, I remember a point that, well, for a change level cap said this, that 5-round SLRs were horrible, and now his opinion completely changed.
Yeah, because they finally figured out how to use those guns. Because no one had any idea how the hell anything worked. No one knew how to shoot an SLR. They were just used to the BF4 meta, where you just click fast at range and just mag them up close.
Well, I didn't know how guns worked. I remember hating the negative spread on LMGs, but then I realized it's actually quite limiting when you consider you're not like a medic. You can, like, especially the RSC, you can look at someone, aim quickly, and 2-hit them.
Yeah.
You can't really do that on an LMG.
Like, LMGs were much more deliberate in their use, because I actually preferred bipods from TTK1, because you put it down, you have no recoil, but it doesn't mean that you have perfect accuracy. Like, you have to have both accuracy and know how to, like, position yourself and how to time your shots. You need to know when to shoot at someone, knowing that your first few shots will miss, in a position that they've exposed themselves so that you can kill them in the time your gun gets its full accuracy. It like required you to predict people's movements and aim at people who aren't in cover, so that you have like the most optimal engagement method. But now it's just like, you set down your bipod, you have a shit ton of recoil, but you can erase anyone everywhere because you have like perfect accuracy right off.
The problem with that, although I know where you're coming from, is, well, the Parabellum used to exist, and I don't think it should have been that accurate on the bipod. Before TTK.
The bipod could have just been removed, I suppose.
Yeah, actually, I know you disagree with me. I don't find the Parabellum that useful. If they would just remove the low weight version and make it like a trench version, it's actually a bit more useful now. But could be OP, I don't know.
And has to like destroy objectives on the map so that they get more resources in the second map, while the enemy gets less resources. It's like Rush which then transforms into the Battlefield 1 style operations with objectives, which are easier or harder depending on how well you did in the first round.
So it's not actually just operations then, it's
No.
a combo, because I've heard Jack Frags. In fact, there was a funny moment because he was saying the confirmed game modes, and during the operation he mentioned front lines.
Yeah, dude, the third day of the operations, after the normal Battlefield, after the Airborne, which is Rush, and the second one, which is like a normal operations game mixed with Conquest, the third day is a Frontlines game.
That's fantastic, actually.
And if no one wins the third round, because it happens in Frontlines, if it's like a draw, then the fourth day is no respawns team deathmatch. Like, if you die, you can't respawn, and like it's like situations where one player would have to like clutch against 6 people, or it's probably designed to make for like cool moments for Twitch and YouTube when you're the only player left versus like 10 Germans. They rush into the room, you spray them too with your Thompson, and then another one shoots you. You're like low on health, then you jump out the window, run to a nearby building, and you see that your medic friend is there wounded. So you pick him up. He heals you, and then you have an actual chance of winning it. It's gonna be, designed to make a big show out of the whole thing.
But what happens to the players who are not playing at that time? If it's like last man standing, or is
Spectate.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
They can. If they're in your squad, you can pick them up, or if you're a medic, you can pick anyone up.
It's like BF1 was like a stepping stone.
If only they showed that element, like people dragging their teammates into cover in some heroic moment in the trailer.
Yeah, now I understand why people don't like the trailer.
This is the issue with it. They marketed it. They marketed the trailer
as an action game
to the audience who's not already a BF fan, like people who like customization, people who like explosions and stuff. Even though they should have known that the biggest the audience of the reveal is going to be people who already like Battlefield and want like an authentic World War II experience similar to BF1. But the trailer was catered to completely new players who haven't played Battlefield before, and the trailer is kind of meh in itself. If it was better, maybe there'd be less of a problem. But it's like super fast, everything's going on. You don't know what's going on. Yeah,
it's a bit too fast though. That's especially the first part.
They run into the building. The woman shoots some dude. She gets shot. Then the guy on the stairs is screaming, "Give me first aid!" The gun runs past him and doesn't give a shit about his teammate. And then you see some guy being choked, and you think like, "Oh, his teammate got choked out, so he can heal him." But it's actually a German being choked by the teammate who was supposed to give him first aid, and he ignored him.
That confused me actually.
Like, what is going on? You have no idea what's going on. It shows nothing. Like, there's too much stuff going on at one moment. You either make the trailer twice as long and slow it, like show more stuff, or slow it down. Or it's like action, 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 and then action, action, and more action. Whereas, the typical pacing of any like video game or movie is like there's a build-up. They should play like some dramatic music, maybe some few notes of the new Battlefield theme at the beginning, like doo-dum, doom, doo-dum, doom, and there's like a screen showing the village or the horse or whatever, like the white horse thing. What's
funny, actually, if they just took the last part of the trailer, I think it would actually just be better just to show the last part. The last part was actually very cool.
Yeah, dude, the teaser itself is better than the trailer. It's much slower. Like, compare the actual trailer, the moment with the German paratrooper choking the soldier, to the teaser. In the teaser, it's much slower. You can like see his face for a good couple of seconds, and his expression change from like having this normal expression to this sinister one when it's like, shh.
But the point where he picked up the MG, that was when I liked the trailer. That was actually the best part. Yeah,
but they still should have slowed it down.
Like, yeah, he was like sliding all over the place. Like, I thought it was pretty cool, but I can see why it's actually counter to what they are doing.
I mean, it would have been nice if they said it's like co-op footage or co-op footage, because and if they showed off multiplayer, they should have showed off team play. Like, dragging your teammates into cover, the I revive animation, I predicted, I don't know if you remember, but I predicted that the teaser trailer will show off some like counter melee animation, like that the teammate who spawned will like pull the German guy off of the player.
And I remember that.
I predicted that spot on, man. I predicted a lot of stuff from these trailers.
Great job.
Yeah. But I did not expect, like, a woman on the battlefield. It happened pretty often, especially in World War II, because the civilian population was much, much more involved in the conflict due to, like, you know, the whole Holocaust stuff and genociding.
Yeah, so, I know that, but for some reason I could be wrong. I just associate it with resistance movements rather than, for example...
for example, I mean, the Russians enlisted women into the army directly as snipers, pilots,
and so on. I know about that, actually.
Because all their men were just busy dying, so... And, you know, in Norway, in Poland, in France, in the Netherlands, there were women, and they're fighting as resistance fighters, as snipers, assassins, or, like, intelligence people. And, you know, it's believable. If it were just a woman, cool. Like, the problem isn't the woman having a prosthetic arm, like Venom Snake from Metal Gear Solid 5. Also, MGS5 also has a V, and it also has someone with that exact same type of prosthetic. Hint, hint. Maybe Death Stranding is BF5 confirmed. But then they show the trailer. The last scene of the trailer, the last goddamn scene, the one it ends on and leaves you on, is a one-handed woman with a claw, bionic hand beating a German to death with a giant barbed cricket bat. A giant barbed cricket bat.
It's a sort of symbolism there.
Yeah, it's not bad because it's a woman with beating a guy to death with a cricket bat that has a bionic arm. But it's bad because it's marketed. It's first off marketed at the wrong audience. It's marketed at like the more people who aren't already fans, people who like Fortnite and customization. It was directed at those people. The Battlefield veterans wanted like gameplay, team play, showing off how gunplay works, that stuff. But they showed off completely wrong things. And they showed them off in a kind of meh way, as I said, with the pacing. And this is my theory, like, people will say, but oh, they had Hellregals that didn't exist in Battlefield 1. They had Cherigotis, which were never adopted by anyone.
No, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, it's... BF1 isn't historically accurate, but it's thematically appropriate. Like, it's not...
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't break your suspension of disbelief. People could have used Hellregals because they were actually in development and they were kind of workable, but they just didn't make them into weapons because for, you know, various reasons. But if
according to Forgotten Weapons, it didn't work.
Yeah, but if they figured out how to make it work, it could have worked because the technology used in the Hellregal was 100% period appropriate. It's like fit in the themes of the game, like the setting. Like a historian would tell you that if they worked out the Hellregal or decided to like use it despite its flaws, it could have been implemented in the war. The Thompson Annihilators were like shipped and arrived in Europe a week after the war ended.
Yeah,
and then it's not unbelievable. If the war just lasted 1 or 2 years longer, you could have seen all those weapons on the front because they were working and they were appropriate to the period they set in. It's supposed to look thematically appropriate, but it's not supposed to be realistic at all or historically accurate. Like, you have Avanti Savoia, the single-player story of basically this Iron Man guy with an MG rushing up a mountain by himself and soloing 400 Austro-Hungarian soldiers by himself. But no one gets pissed off by it. You know why? Because it wasn't shown off in the gameplay trailers. Like, they shown off like maybe a second of a guy shooting an LMG away, an elite kid shooting some soldiers for like 2-3 seconds in the trailer. Yeah. Whereas the things that are inauthentic, which are not like very realistic at all, are like the main point of the reveal trailer, which is the issue, because you want to show off the things which are like, you want to show off your best parts of the game, the most believable, the most appropriate, and such as the reveal, because the fans, the community, generally likes this stuff. But instead, they got scared because they thought, oh, it's gonna cater to the SJWs because there's a woman with no arm. Because it scared the community because they don't like SJW things and they instantly associate with it with that issue. I mean,
I didn't know this.
I'm not going to say he's completely right because he also overblows the whole issue. Is that you had women in BF1. You had black soldiers like Black German Scouts, it was not. How do I put it? It wasn't that bad because they didn't like. Sure, they did, but they didn't show off like a Black German Scout as a campaign war story, or like the main, or they didn't show a Black German Scout as the only character in a multiplayer trailer. I don't think they showed any. But in BF5, they show off the most inauthentic things as what they show you the most, like the guy with the undershirt and like blue face paint. The Kratos-looking dude, and a woman with a bionic claw arm that Venom Snake has. Like,
I still think they look cool though. But I get what you mean.
But it doesn't cater. They could have made this. They should have made a different trailer for the reveal and shown this off like in 2 weeks or like a week after this to like show people the custom. It should be a customization trailer basically.
Yep.
Like a
exactly.
Vertical slice of the gameplay, while the reveal trailer should be like more serious. Yeah, they should have shown something more serious, dude. Like, seriously. Whoever did the marketing, like, did they not know who's going to watch this trailer? It's like no one did research on the community. They should have known that.
That's what I wanted to point out. Again, whatever, even if it were true or not, when they're focusing on the female characters, like...
Did they not know who saw the BF1? The BF1 reveal was amazing. It blew Call of Duty out of the water with it. It was great. It was aimed at the people that primarily bought these games. It's like they stopped caring about the fans of BF1 and BF4 with BF5 and just tried to cater to like people who like Fortnite or games like these, even though the gameplay is going to be like Siege, Battlefield, Red Orchestra, PUBG, and Fortnite combined. It's like going to be a combination of all the best parts of all the games we've had. Even like Red Orchestra, there's so many similar elements to RO2. Like the squad leader things, the smoke screens, the tactical gameplay, building stuff, MG nests, no 3D spotting. It's going to be it's like a strategy game. It's like an RTS game, but played from a first-person perspective to a certain degree.
Yeah, that actually sounds fun.
Yeah, it's like Company of Heroes, except you play as the soldiers while still doing like strategy stuff. Basically, literally, this is Company of Heroes first-person shooter edition. And
I think
it's
the problem with the trailer is not that DICE didn't look at it. I think it was just DICE that looked at it. That's the problem. No one else looked at it. I mean, it's so obvious. Even I don't care about this thing. I saw, oh look, they're focusing on a male person, and then suddenly, whoops, zoom out, and then female character instantly. Just, I don't mind, I don't care, but I know how people are.
Did you see the reveal stream where they showed off like a war story screenshot of this Norwegian woman fighting for the resistance?
Yep.
Imagine if they showed that in the reveal trailer.
That would have been fine.
They could have even made her the main point of the reveal trailer, but if she were like, you know, a normal woman that doesn't have a bionic arm and a giant cricket bat...
Yeah, like BF1 had a campaign with
it would have been received perfectly by the community, or mostly. Of course, there would be people butthurt about my SJW women agenda. But I mean, I'm transgender, and I still think this shit is like, ooh.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I don't mind. Speak, Dan. I keep interrupting you.
No, it was fine. Basically, just people need to find an intermediate. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Because it's like
I can get the comparison, but at least let the gameplay come out first.
The Fortnite comparisons came from character customization and building stuff. That's basically where the Fortnite comparisons came from.
But the building stuff is ridiculous because other games have had this before. Like, if I remember, with Standard Territory, you could build stuff in specific spots just like they described. But this one is a bit more involved.